Everybody, this is Coffee with the Founder. Today with us is Bobby Samuels. He's the co-founder and CEO of Protege, and we're having quite a rapid year of acceleration in 2025. And you do have coffee late in the day, I'd say on East Coast time, Bobby, but good on you. Do you drink coffee the whole day through or what?
Pretty much. Yeah. I like,
Okay.
I don't know if it's probably not like diagnosable like narcolepsy. I'm sure it's not even close, but
Yeah.
I can pretty much always go to sleep. I don't really get like, so coffee doesn't really affect me. I'll have coffee at like, 1 a.m. and then have no problem just like go to sleep.
There are people like this. My sister is one. She can drink a whole tub of iced tea that she brews, like the black tea that has all the caffeine, and then just go right to bed, no problem.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes on weekends, I'll like, I'll be up and I'm like, God, why do I have this headache? Like, and then it's like, oh, I just haven't had coffee yet, and I'm like addicted, and I'm fine. So there were, in the spectrum of things, it's not the worst.
It's not the worst at all. Yeah. We all have our vices. Yes. / caffeine fixes, or whatever. Okay.
Whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it. Okay. You're working on AI training as a data platform here. Data holders with vetted data users, as we see. Tell us more. What are we doing in this AI space / how are you holding up with it all?
Yeah. I mean, it's like probably, and I'd like try not to be a super hyperbolic person, just like nature. I think it's, you could make an argument that it's one of the, if not like the fastest growing or like fastest changing industry.
It is. I'd say it is.
Yeah. So it's, that keeps us pretty busy. But yeah, so biggest bottleneck for AI from our perspective is data. And there's been this misconception, I'd argue, that we're sort of out of data for training.
That's the word on the street generally. We've already scraped everything and looked at everything. So now what the hell are we going to do? Yeah.
Yeah. And so like our take is that's true for publicly available data, but that's a vanishingly small percentage of all data that is available. I mean, you can think about how much data is just created in this conversation and now in this podcast format. And so what we do is work with folks who are holders of a unique data asset, ranging from healthcare to video to audio, what have you, and then connect that with folks who are looking to build models, ensuring that content holders and data holders have the right set of protections to ensure their data is being used in a thoughtful, privacy compliant way.
And so break it down a little bit more for us. So you're saying a compliance way. Speak to that, because safety and compliance is a big problem right now.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of suits around the fact that folks, if there's video that's publicly available, they maybe would rip it and then or download it and then train. And what we do is we work with folks, video rights holders, who have this library of data and a library of video content. We work with them and say, look, let us essentially monetize this asset for you, but you will have total control over who uses this for what use cases and ensure that it's being handled in a thoughtful way. And so what it does is it creates a new revenue stream for someone who has, 100,000 hours of video. And we do this in a way that they're very comfortable that we will be thoughtful stewards of a really core asset that they have, which is your content or their data. There are analogs in healthcare, another area where we work, where it's less around IP concerns, but it's around privacy concerns. Ensuring that data is used in a way that is compliant with both the letter of the law, but also the spirit of the law. Before Protege,
or the lack of law, perhaps.
Yeah, right. I mean, like HIPAA was written in '94, and so the idea that now you're sort of retrofitting AI on top of the internet, on top of all this stuff, like we weren't really writing HIPAA envisioning the era we're in. And so, yes, there is a letter of the law about how one must undergo de-identification with regards to HIPAA, but then also making sure it's sort of in line with the spirit of the law as well, such that we are treating the data is being treated in a way that is commensurate with the impact and privacy centric nature of it. So we really focus on ensuring that data holders are adequately compensated for the data that they have, that's being treated in a thoughtful way, whether it's from a privacy perspective or from an IP perspective.
Okay. And for example, like an academic, what would be an example? Who would be using you guys? Who says, hey, I'm sitting on this treasure trove of data, let's say.
We work on the data holder side.
Yes.
We work with hundreds of different organizations. We work with
it's more from
a
an org
group
perspective.
like an example. We work with a Polish soccer league called Ekstraklasa. We did a press release with them, and they are filming their games, and that is incredible training data.
Yeah, it is.
See how, and it's a win for them. It's a net new revenue stream. It enables what is being built by folks who are architecting different models to have a really rich, dynamic, up to date data set, and so we ensure that transaction is happening where it can be a real win-win. And so we work with everyone from sports studios to production houses to hospitals to labs and podcast studios, because everything is data basically.
Yeah, everything is.
So and so I think that we viewed the world in that way, and the more that AI can be trained off of what is sort of like the human experience, like sort of the output of people living their lives, companies building their products, like that's ultimately what we want AI to be able to augment and replicate. We think the better AI will perform, both sort of in an absolute sense, but also hopefully consistent with what we all want for AI in the world.
Let's hope. Yeah. If we can, Bobby, because there's the other side of it, which it could kill us all, but that's not this topic, so we're not going to get into that. What made you, though, Bobby, go like, aha, this is a problem, I need to solve it? Because you were previously at Datavant, let's say, and then you've been doing this now a year and change, so it hasn't been that long at all. What made you go into this venture-backed realm?
Yeah. I've been in the data world for about a decade, always with sort of a flavor of building data networks and focused on sort of data fragmentation, whether that's in ad tech at LiveRamp, whether that's in healthcare at Datavant. Started Protege with Travis May, who founded those two companies. The thesis, as I mentioned, sort of biggest bottleneck is data. But in a lot of these different industries, there's this massive issue of data fragmentation where, and I think we feel that most viscerally from a healthcare perspective. If you move from one institution to another, it's like, a huge pain. And then when you're talking about across a huge variety of industries and a huge set of new data that really hasn't been online before, but now is incredibly valuable. I mean, if I go back to the soccer example, like that's data that really, like, the idea that could be used for anything besides video is like a whole net new thing. And so the sort of paradigm shift from a data perspective that we think opens up a huge amount of value is, for the last however long, basically since we could do sort of data analysis at scale, we've basically been using like structured data, what that is, like Excel sheets.
Exactly.
But now the richest data is unstructured. It's conversations like this, and videos and all that stuff. And so that's data that's gone from effectively not worth anything to from a sort of outside of its core use case to incredibly valuable. And so you have now this interesting dynamic where there's huge opportunity to help solve this data fragmentation problem, because there's all this new data that's all super valuable for the first time. And so I think it's sort of this data fragmentation problem on steroids. And you have this also, it's not just any one part of AI that feels this effect. It's in healthcare and video and everything,
Mm-hmm.
where if you're able to bring all this data together in
Mm-hmm.
a way that both compensates data holders and makes sure that they feel comfortable with what's going on, and you make it easier for folks who are building models to access data in a compliant, thoughtful way, you can really meaningfully accelerate the development of AI. And
Mm-hmm.
that's, I think we put those different pieces together from our own past experiences, from what we were seeing in the AI boom. And I think, for me personally, it's rare where there's sort of this merging of really big commercial opportunity with something that I've sort of have experience
Yeah,
in.
you're in the realm of, and you were like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, and then plus, like, I genuinely think that if we're able to solve this, it can meaningfully accelerate the time frame in which we're able to get the right cures in front of the right people. And like, if we can inflect the speed at which, I'll pick on medicine, like AI and healthcare is developed, like that's huge. So I think it's sort of the like all of that coming together got us just incredibly excited.
Mm-hmm. So you're like, yes, let's do this.
Yeah.
Got you. So now by the way, am I hearing kids in the background?
You are hearing my 20-month-old daughter. Yeah.
Okay. And you're being a dad too. Why not throw that in? Throw it in. Okay, let's talk about that for a second, because I had so many parents on here that have like young, under 2, under 3-year-old kids, and I'm like, and you're doing a startup. Like, how are you alive? Real question.
So the other thing, my wife's also starting a business.
Oh my God. How is this happening, Bobby?
I feel very lucky. We have a lot of support.
Okay.
I feel my daughter, knock on wood, is very happy, very healthy.
Okay, great. Thank God.
We have a lot of family support. I think my in-laws are probably also may hear them in the background. So like,
yeah,
there's a lot of
hands on deck.
Structurally, I feel very, very fortunate to have at our disposal.
Good.
But this also gets back to the why I can fall asleep anywhere, anytime.
See, I wonder if it's actually just that.
Yeah, so it's all like interwoven, But yeah, I mean, there's no cheat code, It's tiring, but I feel extremely fortunate to be able to do all these concurrently, and it's not lost on me that I have a lot of infrastructure around me, in-laws and all this.
I need to do like some long form research on this, and it's maybe going to be pulled from the data of the podcast, Bobby. So I'll have to hit you up on this of like, is there such a psycho level, which I'm going to say is, from what I've gathered so far, of just like, yes, do the startup, and yes, let's have young kids, like just throw it all in the blender. Let's just put it just like all in on all the life things, and let's go. There's at least 10 founders I know that I could like name that are like in the midst of their Series A, their B, or whatever level startup, and like you have 2 kids under 5 right now. Like, how are you doing this?
Yeah, I think there's a certain amount of chaos,
but it's also I was like, it's like chaos championing. Like, let's just throw the chaos.
It's interesting. I think that at an early stage company, there's a certain amount of chaos that you have to sort of embrace.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's that dissimilar from having a kid, where if you try to control the chaos, you'll at best fail, at worst yourself crazy.
Yeah.
And so there's probably some corollary. Look, I do think that that having constraints within reason is good. Mm-hmm. And so it forces me to focus on what are the highest value activities that need to happen, because just my time is much more scarce in a lot of ways than it was.
Yes.
And
is it helpful perhaps then?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could definitely make the argument that it is helpful and like gives perspective and focuses you on what is actually going to move the needle.
Yeah.
So I mean, I've definitely heard of folks where they like, constraints are good. Constraints make, generate creativity. I think a lot about the like media and entertainment world is like proxy for a bunch of stuff. And like, there's a great documentary on the creation of South Park, which is
Oh,
it basically they create everything in 6 days, the whole show.
oh,
And so you
that is
just
a
like
constraint.
see,
Yeah.
and like, look, the documentary, like it's as you might expect, like pretty lewd, but
Yeah.
like you see how having really tight constraints forces decisions and creativity and iteration. And like, again, I'm not necessarily praising a daughter and creating a company to doing South Park, but like
Yes. We
constraints are good.
understand.
Constraints are good, and I think
Constraints are good.
force thinking. So I think that it's probably, yeah. I mean, I think it probably makes me more effective.
Okay. Where else do you put constraints purposely on yourself? Or you're like, I got enough. I don't need more. Like I'm just going down this path of like, given that if constraints are good, we can argue here.
Yeah.
It forces creativity, it forces decisions and so forth. Then wouldn't we all want to run a little bit towards the psychos of us, of course, towards that?
Yeah. I mean, deadlines are certainly one form of constraint. I think the notion of like time boxing and exercise, or like, I probably further constrain, like I don't, between 5 and 8, I'm offline. Like I'm with my daughter, I'm with my wife.
Okay. That's a hard constraint.
And so like, and so I think there's sort of that piece as well. But I think imposing timelines, and that sort of structure where you can, I think that there's always this inertia to like, let's have this conversation and like and just like, no, we got to like, let's make a decision by this date and then we got to go. And I think especially with in an environment like we're in, that's moving very, very fast, the world is often imposing constraints on you.
Yeah, you have macro constraints.
Yeah. And so, I think that leads you to be forced to be really creative, and that's part of the fun of it.
I like the perspective. It's part of the fun.
Yeah.
What's and maybe it's this, what's one of your unlocks of late? As your kid screams in the background, I love it.
Yeah. One of the unlocks to date. I've started doing more, and this is not novel, of like block a couple hours in the morning, try to think on the main, like sort of the things you need to focus on.
The big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've done a little bit of that. I don't think it's like, I haven't gotten into enough of a rhythm of it. But I mean, look, I think one thing I certainly can do like others is like, it's been a particularly crazy period of late. And so like taking a step back and trying to, trying to sort of see how I can improve what I do. I'd say where I can, one thing I've started really over the last year or so is like, well, I mean, like in my role, like sort of on every day, but I try to take like a lot of a Saturday and like not check anything for at least a few hours. And like, I think that like, and maybe it's the morning.
Saturday. Yeah.
And like this notion of like a sort of like digital Sabbath kind of thing. I've found to be very helpful. I think maybe, and like this is sort of a silly, go ahead, sound silly, but like I think that there's like, I think our company is in a period where it's going from like Bobby is like needing to do a ton of execution to like me, moving from, versus like now it's more, there are probably a handful of good decisions I need to make every day. And so I think my personal philosophy on sleep is changing, where it's like, it's no longer
bottom of the list, maybe?
It's no longer bottom of the list, but it's also like, it is the right thing for me to do for the company, for me to make sure I get
Yeah.
And, if I'm showing up at these meetings and I'm like, a zombie, that isn't okay anymore. Like, and so I think actually the way I'm thinking about my own personal sleep, and this is not intended to sound like a total hardo, like it's just, it's sort of like, oh, actually, and I feel very fortunate of the board we have. Like, they are very good, and like one of the key questions they ask is like, how are you sort of like personally doing? Because I
Yes.
think there is a, you know, for a good board, and I feel very lucky to have one. I think they understand that the CEO's got to be in it for a while, and taking care of him or herself is pretty critical. So I'd say that's like an unlock of late.
This is the oxygen mask theory, which is just like you got to bet that oxygen
Yeah,
mask on,
totally.
strapped on. You got to be sucking in the air before anyone else is getting saved, because I'm not able to save you if I'm not breathing in my own air first.
Yeah, for sure.
Bobby, okay, we're at the end of the year. I asked you a little bit of before we hit record here. Are there any reflections from this year so far? I know I asked you the unlock, of course. Definitely sleep, oxygen mask. But to round us out for today, anything you're maybe not taking into next year? How about that?
Ooh, anything I'm not taking next year? Well, I think for us, we started in 24.
Which was like yesterday. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yesterday or 15 years ago, depending on, you know what I mean? Like, so started last year, had some like interesting proof points, but like nothing that like notable. 25 has been objectively a really good year for us. And so 26 is sort of the year of scale. And that means growing the business for sure, but it's getting the right folks in the right seats and having the right organizational infrastructure in place and making sure our product is scalable in the ways we need it to. So I think it's a different muscle for all of us. It's a different muscle for me around what are the things that we sort of need to optimize for. And it's a dynamic enough industry that there's always going to be sort of a bunch of like 0 to 1 type things going on. But in the background, we also need to be doing a really good job of the 1 to N kind of stuff, which is, I think, different than this year.
What do you mean 1 to end?
1 to N, like
1 to
yeah, just like scaling versus going from 0 to 1. Like
which is a slog.
And I think that's like
1 to N
things that I will learn and pick up and all that. So I think that's it's just a broadening of the things that we have to do, and our aspiration is to build a really impactful, meaningful business, and so I think it's an exciting challenge for us to think about how do we scale our business and how do we scale our impact.
Isn't that the question for all, I'd say? Or as someone else on this podcast says, a business is in the business of making money. Let's remember this too. Let's remember this.
Yes.
Oh, I'm like, yeah, that's true. Well, Bobby, lovely having you on this late afternoon, all the way in Brooklyn with your kid in the background, all the things. My God, like Godspeed to you. Godspeed. You're the co-founder and CEO of Protege. You know what? I'm now going to be thinking of like, where's all the data that's maybe sitting in a library, for example? Like if they just have footage of people coming in and bringing books out. I don't know. You're making me think on just like where all the unstructured data that is existing in the world that no one is taking and no one is capturing.
It's everywhere. I mean, everything.
No, it is.
Everything everywhere all at once or whatever. It's like everything's data. Like, and so I think the more that AI, which is sort of replicating and enhancing what people do and gives us more leverage in everything, ideally, the more that they can sort of take human inputs, I think the better it's going to be for everybody.
Let us hope, Bobby, because otherwise it's annihilation. So I'd rather be on your side of this. Yes. You laugh, but you're because right.
Look. I think
that's not the show, but yeah, go ahead.
I don't think I'm like blind on it, but I'd say I'm like generally pretty optimistic on what AI is going to do, and I also think folks who think AGI is around the corner, having seen where we are, like we got a ways to go. I would not worry about AI replacing all of us tomorrow. Like we got a ways to go.
It's not tomorrow, but yeah, okay. That's it for today. Bye. We can have another podcast. We'll have another show when we're getting closer to that. How that we can have a little popcorn show, and it'll just be all AI founders and be like, what? Anyway, I digress.
Yeah. That's I'll see you in 2080.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. Bobby, thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.